Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 9 and 10th of September. So usually these two, when I do 2 days, right, these two will be actually combined into one map. But because of the developments, the very quick developments over the past 2 days, it's impossible for me to put it together. And because things are happening so quickly, it's also not possible for me to do the 9 September summary on its own. So for those that did not know, yesterday or just maybe 12 hours ago, we have done a 6 hours long live stream as we covered the events as it happens in Ukraine. So now this is the summary. So let's start. So I'm going to enable both icons, and so let's start off with a few things. So first we have Zelenskyy, claiming that they have liberated over 1,000 square kilometers of territory. This is on the 8th of September news. And then after that, oh god, man, all these are all old information. Let's delete this. Sorry. So on the 10th this is the latest information. The latest statement from Zelenskyy is that Zelenskyy said that they have since the beginning of September liberated over 2,000 kilometers of their own territory. So the Russians have made a good choice to run away, and the occupiers in Ukraine have no place and will not be. So they say that he emphasized to the Russian military and security forces that are afraid to return to Russia that they can guarantee that if they are detained by Ukrainian soldiers, they'll be treated according to the Geneva Convention. So he's urging the Russian soldiers to surrender. And over the past 24 hours, the Russian forces have lost a Sukhoi 25, a Sukhoi 34, and a Ka 52 attack helicopter. So the other two is actually bombers. So that's all from the general area. So let's start off with the Southern Front. So at the Southern Front, there is no movement or changes much in the Southern Front. There is a reported offensive from the Russian side from Bobrovyi Kut and Klynivske. They actually crossed the Inulet rivers and attacked northward. However, this information comes from the pro-Russian source Ryba. However, it's unlikely to be true. I got a feeling that this is not accurate, but we shall see whether this will turn out to be correct. And let me see this. So this is the Ukrainians are crossing the river to reinforce the forces over here, and on the 9th of September, and then as a result they have captured Chakalove. This one we have reported in the 8th of September summary, because this had happened before the summary was done. So but anyway, this is a 9 and 10 summary, so I will have to just go through this a bit. And they also recaptured Kostromka from the Russians. So that's all, I guess. So otherwise there is no active offensive anymore over in the Southern Front. There is the last information that we had in the Southern Front was there is also an offensive in the Oleksandrivka here in the Kherson regions. So far this one did not result in anything. There is a RT reporter reporting from Oleksandrivka, thus confirming that Oleksandrivka is still under Russian control. So otherwise, Southern Front is pretty quiet because all the attention is all in the Kharkiv region. That's all from the Southern Front. On the Zaporizhzhia Line, similarly, you can see that there's no much changes. Everything's pretty quiet. And let's go on to the Donetsk front. At the Donetsk area, according to the Ukraine Defense Ministry, there is fighting reported at Novomykhailivka, At Pisky region, so there is a fighting near Pisky, which I suspect is actually in this area here, on the western side of the runway, which is actually just next to Pisky. There's also fighting at Pervomaiske, which means the Russians are still continuing to push towards Pervomaiske. There is also let's move on to okay, so that's all from the Donetsk front. Also pretty quiet. It's the usual where the Russians are attacking Pervomaiske, and Novomykhailivka. Nothing particularly out of the norm, but this grind is proving to be more and more pointless, because if you look at the gains later, then you will see that by the Ukrainian side, you'll find that all this slow grind is just poor tactic and poor strategy. Moving on to the Bakhmut front. At the Bakhmut front, the Russian forces continue to try to push for Mayorsk, and the offensive towards Novomykhailivka, Druha continues as they try to cut the road over here, this highway south of Bakhmut city. Zaitseve continues to hold against the Russian defense, so it's at Vesela, Dolyna. So there is fighting reported at Bakhmut, fighting reported at Soledar, and that's it from the Bakhmut front. There is no changes in terms of the front line, and the situation at this Pervomaiske is still pretty unknown. No one actually talks about it, so it could be wrong information. Maybe it's just nearby. The Ukrainians are not in Pervomaiske, maybe just nearby, maybe at this entrenchment. Who knows what is exactly the situation. And moving on to the Siversk Front. At the Siversk Front, previously we had this information that there is a massing of Ukrainian troops over at Zaporizhzhia. So far, there is no actions from these troops reportedly here. So we shall see whether they will actually cross the river. However, on the 10th of September, which is 24 hours ago, there is a offensive from the Ukrainian forces eastward. It looks like they are actually going to go for Lysychansk. So this is actually the Lysychansk offensive, and this is the first counter-offensive, a proper counter-offensive by the Ukrainians into the Luhansk territory. So fighting is reported at Zolotarivka, Verkhnokamyanka, as well as at Spirne. So the attack reportedly has been throughout the day, but so far the defense line is still holding. The important thing to note about this fighting is that the Russian side only have one line of defense, and should this line of defense get breakthrough at any point, the Ukrainian forces will be able to hit into the rear and travel really fast into the rear and cause a massive defeat and massive trouble for the Russian side, just like what happened in Balakliya, where the Ukrainian forces break through in the north of Balakliya, and then they actually rush through deep into Russian controlled territory, and with that they actually cause a rout of the Russian forces. A similar situation could happen here. So the Russian forces, if they do not hold their lines, I don't think there will be a second line of defense that will help to prevent a breakthrough. Unlike Ukrainian lines, Ukrainian do not have just one line of defense. They at least will have three lines of defense. There'll be a first line, there'll be a second line, and a third line, even fourth or fifth line. So which is why the Russian forces always do not have the ability to break through and have this kind of dramatic captures. The last one that they did was in this area south of Lysychansk. As they punched forward, the Ukrainians finally realized that they will be encircled, and that's why they do a massive withdrawal from several Donetsk and Lysychansk. And that's the last time that we see such a massive, victory from the Russian side, and that's already more than a month ago, probably 2 months by now, I think. So So the Ukrainian defenses are really strong and very deep, as you can see from this blue blob here. The defense line is probably up to here, and this distance of defense line can be as deep as 15 kilometers. So for the Russians to break through this defense line is very hard. But I think the Russian defense line, however, is not that deep. There's probably, I believe, between 8 to 10 kilometers at max, and so things, and probably it's not that deep, even probably only 5 kilometers right on the front line as only. So we shall see how this goes. And we are now in the Slovyansk Front. At the Slovyansk Front, the Ukrainian forces have launched the awaited Great Lyman Offensive. In the Lyman Offensive, the Ukrainian forces have attacked and they are now reportedly fighting on the outskirts of Lyman, and they're also fighting at the area of Brusivka, at Dibrova, as well as at Yampil. So the reported strength of this offensive, reported by War Gonzo, is between 3 to 5,000 soldiers from the Ukrainian side. And even at this number of 3 to 5,000, they heavily outnumbers the defenders, the Russian defenders in this region. My own estimation is that there's only probably 2 to 500 soldiers from the Russian side that is actually in this area. I don't, in fact, at max maybe 1,000 soldiers. So the Russian side is holding on very thinly, and there is a high chance that Lyman will fall within the next 24 to 48 hours. So unless there is significant reinforcement coming to Lyman, things are looking really bleak, and the fall of Lyman will actually cause a massive breakthrough again, just like what happened in Balakliya region, where after Lyman there's actually no defense line around this region. So the Ukrainians will be able to rush to Crimea and do an attack into Rubizhne or Severodonetsk, or they can even go up to Svetove and cause a massive collapse in the front line along the Oskil River. So this is a seriously dangerous situation for the Russian side over here, and a great opportunity for the Ukrainians to actually break the Russian lines. There is already rumors that there are some Russian withdrawal of their emergency ministry, internal affairs ministry, and National Guard units. So things are already not sounding really good in this region. There is reported fighting at near Bohorodychne. Accordingly, there is a Ukrainian offensive against the Russian line at Bohorodychne. However, we are not sure who is actually really in control of Bohorodychne. Otherwise, that's all from the Slovyansk Front. Over at the Izyum Front, the situation is bleak because the Ukrainians from the Balakliya Front have actually punched through and possibly go through Vesela to the outskirts of Izyum already. They are already at the entrance of Izyum, and as per the latest information, according to the Ukraine Defense Ministry, they are now trying to liberate the district, the Izyum district. So they say that this operation is ongoing, which means that they are fighting around this region here. The Russian forces are still at Izyum. So there is the 60 separate mechanized brigade probably around this region, and there is reinforcement coming over to Izyum previously, and it looks like this reinforcement is not to fight the Ukrainians, but it's more to defend the retreating forces and probably also vehicles to allow the evacuation to go on smoothly. And the Russian Ministry of Defense yesterday conceded that they will be withdrawing from the Balakliya and Izyum fronts, and they will be redeployed to Donetsk. So the reinforcements like trucks and APCs, infantry fighting vehicles that we have saw in some of the videos, it's likely that they will be traveling to this region, because there is a lot of Russian troops in the front line here in the southern part of Izyum, in the Izyum front. So these vehicles is likely to carry all this infantry. They are is not actually to send troops to Izyum, but more like to bring troops out of Izyum. And there is, of course, also some units moving in, like just to help out with the defense, to hold the Ukrainian lines so that they can evacuate as much troops as they can away from the Izyum front. Reportedly, the Russians are trying to hold the line at Soledar as a choke point, but given the threat happening here over at Lyman, should Lyman fall, Soledar will not be able to be held, as the troops, any troops that is positioned here will be encircled. So I think there is a lot of work the Russian Ministry of Defense will have to do to decide, what is next. And you can see from the overlapping lines, you can see how huge the front line has changed. So we went from the Balakliya offensive, breaking into the entire Kharkiv region north of Izyum, and on the 9th of September, the front line looks like this, where there is some Russian units are still holding on at Kupiansk, and they contacted the Ukrainian forces at Yasinovate, and it was still looking not too bad. There is because of the reinforcement that came in, but the Ukrainian forces is overwhelmingly more stronger in terms of numbers. So numerically stronger Ukrainian forces seems like a bad idea to hold against. So the Russians retreated to this line. So from this line to this line, you can see the change. So the Russian forces did a mass withdrawal, and this withdrawal is likely to continue as we will report over the next 24 hours. You will see this line likely to go all the way to the border, and along the entire Oskil River, and the entire area here will likely to be totally withdrawn. I will believe that this area will still hold on for another 2 days, as they are trying to evacuate the massive amount of Russian forces in this region through Izyum via Oskil into the Russian-controlled Luhansk and Donetsk region. So to cross over to the Oskil River through Oskil, and so this force will go through here, go up to Izyum, and go through Oskil, or they can actually go through Soledar as well, and that's another way to try to get out of here. This area here is unlikely to be to have any more Russian troops. The Russian troops previously that was holding up over here at Zaliman and Savici is unlikely to be there anymore because of the Ukrainian forces that is already at the northern part of Izyum, which means that there is a continual withdrawal away from this region. They even give up Vesela, which is an important transport hub. So there is literally no way to hold all this position, especially on Izyum. So Izyum have to withdraw to a more defendable lines. The Russians will have to regroup, and they have to contemplate whether you have to bring in reinforcement in order to continue these special military operations. Once they move to the Oskil River line, then the Luhansk border is not far away. So this is a huge retrogate for the Russian side. Over at the Balakliya front, the two tentacles have combined because there's unlikely to be any more Russian troops in the middle here, and they currently capture the western side of Kupiansk. Kupiansk there's a river going through, so there's still an eastern side of Kupiansk to clear out, but the Russian forces is currently holding this position. So it's like a Ogisiliev situation, if you understand Lord of the Ring story. So we will see whether the Russians will continue to hold this position, or will they chicken out and give up even this position, allow the Ukrainians to actually spread across this entire open area into Luhansk territory. So over at the Kharkiv front, the Ukrainian forces had arrived at Veliki Bulok. There is no indication that they have captured it yet, but arriving there, I don't think there will be much Russian troops there. So unless there are some Russian troops that are holding there to provide tactical withdrawal purposes. So if not, then there's unlikely to be any defenders there. So anyway, there isn't any much Russian troops in this area anyway. So the Russian troops that are in this area is only doing some kind of like a transport traffic police and humanitarian operations. There is no combat troops in this area. So even at Volchansk, from the information that I heard, it's only a few hundred soldiers. So like around 200 soldiers, Russian soldiers. So they have already withdrawn from Volchansk, allegedly. So the Russian military also gave up on this position. So Ukrainian forces, as they go towards Veliki Bolok, they have also branched out northward and they capture Matove and Kotimlia. And these Ukrainian forces is likely to continue to push upwards towards Zaporizhzhia and all the way to Volchansk. This is likely to be the case. And the forces at Veliki Bolok is likely to move northward to capture all the major junctions and probably travel all the way to the border region. And before they start to slowly capture all these border towns and which are less strategically important. Over at the traditional Kharkiv front region, there is fighting reported at Lipsy. This happened over on the 10th of September. It's reportedly by Russian source that is actually a probe. So it's a recon forces. So probably the Ukrainian forces is trying to find out if the Russian forces in this region actually also withdrawn. So however, they got contacted. So the Russians are still there. There is fighting reported at Sosnivka, according to the Ukraine Defense Ministry, where the Russians launched an attack over at this area. Otherwise, there is no more updates over here at the Kharkiv area. So the main bulk of the story is mainly over here in these fronts that I don't have a name for, and the Balakliya front, and there won't be much more fighting at on the western side of the Oskil River. So on our side we don't expect any more fighting. Only at Kupiansk region and maybe at the river crossing at Semkove here, which the bridge is already destroyed. We will see the Ukrainians raising their flag at Horokhovka, and the fighting will mainly be around Oskil region and Izyum, where the Russians are trying to defend the withdrawal from the Izyum Front. So that's all from here. So so this is the summary for the day of 9th and 10th of September, for the day of 197 and 198. Hopefully this 9 and 10, so 198 and 199. So hopefully this is not so confusing. I try to make it as simple as possible. and there won't be any of these shelling reports for these few days, because largely this is not very important on the strategic sense. It's just for additional information, because the front line is changing too quickly. Too many things is happening, so I cannot spend time to enter all this information, because all this bombardment information will take me an hour, I guess, to enter all of them in at least. So so it is the precious time that cannot be wasted, because we need to really find out what's happening. Otherwise, the Belarusians are still doing their exercise until the 14th. The Ukrainians is likely to ignore them, and the Belarusians is unlikely to enter war. So all eyes is now on Kremlin to see how they're going to react to this massive catastrophic defeat. And the Ukrainian side is definitely celebrating. This is a massive major victory since the Northern Front withdrawal of the Russians. This is the next biggest. In fact, I feel that this is even bigger than the ones at the Northern Front, because the Northern Front, the Russian forces withdraw because of heavy pressure, and they decided that it's not worth it. Hope they just withdraw everything. But the one here at the Balakliya front, it is actually a defeat, a military defeat from the Russian side, as they have too few troops in this area. The Ukrainians did the breakthrough, and and it's actually a military victory. It's not really a matter of a Russian withdrawal. So even if the Russian forces stay and fight, they'll be all wiped out, and then the same result will still happen over here. So say hi to this creepy monster. This looks like an ant monster, but it's actually look a lot more like that monster from Dune with these tiny legs, and so scary. So we won't see him again tomorrow, as I'm going to wipe out this entire area soon. And I'll see you in the next update.